let's say my BU next business is on a SAP, they will train you on SAP. So that's the organizational driver for the training, that all the employees or all the aspirants should be trained on SAP. So that's the organizational driver. So that's a push from the organization to get the training, right? So that's one, what you're talking about. Second is, what I am talking about is individual learning, right? You need to look at what I want to learn, the way I want it, the way, when I want it. So what we're talking about is, rather than doing a traditional learning, have a mechanism of learning over a longer period of time, right, with interventions in between, rather than doing 2-day, 3-day type of a thing, where it allows me to pick and choose what I allow to do it when I want to do it, right? So that's what I'm talking about when we're talking about individual learning trial. Tailor as you need. So you're interested in RBT for that matter. I want to learn RBT, but organization says no, you have to take this 2 days program where RBT is one session on it. Why should I waste 2 days just to learn RBT? Because I'm not interested in RBT. Rest of the session I'm just there being forced, right? So that's what I mean by tailor as you need. A capability of learning the way you want, the way you like, has to be there in a system, right? Learning over a period of time, long period of time, rather than giving, shorter time. And I'm telling you, there are a lot of statistics that tells that if you do a shorter learning, right, the type of receptiveness that you have is very minuscule, right? It's not that you spend 2 days and you will be able to capture a lot of things in there, right? So if you want to do it on a longer period of time, it's more effective. A lot of pros and cons in there, right? So I'm not talking about that. Capability assessment. You do your own assessment. Don't allow the organization to do an assessment on your capability, right? You should have a system in place which allows you to assess yourself, look at where do I stand as to my peers. When I talk about peers, I'm not talking about within the organization, outside the organization. And build my own career path, right? This is where the industry is going forward to, and this is what I want to become. Rather than now I'm getting away from the push, I'm saying that you need to pull. You need to ask that I want this training, right? So that's the point I'm making. Where do I stand against the benchmark? Capability which allows you to do that and get above the average lot. And that's the driver that you as an individual has to inculcate. You can't leave it with the organizations, you can't leave it to an external force to do that, right? And that's what I'm talking about, is the transformation that you would have to bring in. Testers lifetime nurturing. So mentoring through career, helping and collaboration with community. And that's another stuff which is very important. Right now, we are all hooked onto social media, whether it's a Twitter, whether it's on a Facebook, whether it's on LinkedIn and stuff and so on. But we only use that when we feel that it's really needed, right? How many of you are hooked on to any of the blogs which are there within the testing community? Can I see a hand on that? I know Avinash is there, right? 2, 3. If I want to look at a job, I'll go to LinkedIn first. Right or wrong? On a need basis. Why is need basis? That's what I'm challenging to. Right? I need to be hooked into the community where I was reading an article where we are talking about, like, do you think the larger organizations like GE and Google, they depend upon their organization, their staff members to solve certain data issues that they have, critical ones? No. Right? There's a site called QUINNOX, right? And that's a collaboration of scientists, data scientists and people, where they provide, anything related to data, scientific research, people are hooked onto it. So critical problems, go and give it to them. They get a solution to it. So, how do I collaborate? How do I bring that into picture? That's what we're talking about in collaboration, right? So when we talk about capability building, what I'm talking about is, look at collective participation as a learning mechanism, right? Because if you don't learn, if you don't grow, then you'll have a problem, right? Peer reinforcement is another area where we can look at it. There's nothing which is driven by outside world. It's among yourselves. You have social media. In Facebook, we connect each other. We say that, this is a good movie, fantastic. But, when you talk about anything that you have, I know that when there's a problem, first thing is to go and look at Google if there's a problem, right? If you want to get an address. But if you want to do a learning, better is to go in for peer enforcement, social learning, and having a professional learning network, right? Some of the ways by which you can look at building the capabilities among yourselves. So I'm not saying that you will have to attend some trainings of that kind, but a process system of this kind which can help all of us to achieve, to look at the challenges which is coming in front of us, right? So as we look forward, what is expectation from learning? Now for testers, it's a lifelong learning, right? So if you look at the profession, doctors, have you seen that, right? It's not that they've done MBBS and MD and they're done with it, right? It's a lifelong learning. We will have to get into that mode. Things have gone where we said, I've been an expert, I've learned, gone. I know that my friend talked about, need of programming language. Rahul yesterday had a talk where he said, learning, need of programming language is a must for testers. I agree with that, right? Because we will have to get into the next league. Things are changing. The magnitude is getting diminished. The size of applications from enterprise is becoming smaller. And then it's a collaboration that we're talking about, right? So that is going to be the next generation. Focus more on competencies and skills. That's what we are talking about. Build your competencies. Build your expertise. Be a one of a kind in that competency. Right? Skills have gone. Skills are something that you can do it faster and quicker. Right? Upskilling is imperative. If you are not upskilling it, my dear friends, I'm telling you that it's going to be pretty challenging for us as testers. Right? I'm not sure if you look at the way the perspectives are. Right? The olden times, the way you are identified, the addresses are identified by your postal address. Things have changed from postal address, right? Now, even if it's a very rare to see a postman coming onto your door. Is that your experience? Yeah? Things have changed because now your address is what? Hashtag, right? Or an email, right? Or your, Skype IDs or Facebook IDs and stuff and so on. So the way you look at it, an outcome is very different, which is from a traditional way, right? Generic to specific, right? The days have gone where I could be a generic tester and I would look at something, where I could get an opportunity and stuff and so on, which becomes pretty easy and good, but that things have changed. Now what I'm talking about is we need to do a learning to learn, right? Not that just for the sake of I learn, but I need to be more intuitive, I need to be more collaborative, I need to be more talking, I need to be more connected to people, right? I need to upskill my knowledge, right? So when I talk about from a last mile perspective, what we have done is we are looking at those elements and trying to look at, put our programs and curriculums on learning from that thought process in our mind, right? It's a long-term programs, the long-term structure where we're trying to ensure that the effectivenesses are there rather than looking at into a short or on-the-spot type of learning programs. So our programs are structured in such a way there are interventions, there are assessments which happens over a period of time, and we call them as transformational programs, right? And what we are talking about is lifelong learning, the collaboration with each participant. So we are not saying that you are here for one learning session. No, we are there for you all across your lifelong. You have a problem, you please come to us, irrespective of whether you attended the learning sessions from us or not, right? You are hooking on to us for a lifelong, because what we believe is, as a tester, at every interventions, what you would be facing, the challenges are very different and unique kind. You will not see the same challenges in your entire career, whether it's in one organization or other organizations, right? Whether delivering the same type of project. What I'm talking about is whether you're doing, migration testing, whether you're talking about, maintenance testing, whether you're talking about database testing, you talk about any type of testings. But things are different because the customer wants are different, right? So you will have to look at perspective when you're thinking about each one of them, right? And that's what we're talking about is your association has to be a lifelong, which has to work, right? So, so what we're talking about is hooking on to us, looking at learning as a lifelong, How is that you can get benefited out of it? How would you help transform yourself into becoming a smart tester? I was reading another article where he coined another word which is called discover. So he says the testers have to be discovered. So he had the analogy of each one of the words or the characters that he is talking about, right? So he's talking about, one of the interesting stuff, only one character I will talk about is S. So he says, he is emphasizing S for scientific. He says that type testers have to be a scientific or a scientist related type of thing, because he has to think differently for each of the problems, because problems are very unique, very different, right? So I would like to end it here with a thought and insight into you all to say that where do we stand from our knowledge building, right? If you don't build our knowledge, if you don't build our capabilities on learnings, right, we will not be able to catch up the train which is going very fast, right? Whether in terms of volumes of tools, data, or any of the information, the medium, right? If you want to catch up those mediums, you will have to update your competencies, again, not skills, right? Do you agree with me? Only few?
Yes.
Anybody who has got a discontent on what I said? Any challenges from that side? I'm ready to take that. Yes.
Not challenge.
Yes, please.
So the environment is demanding us to learn a lot.
Yes.
Because the technology is keep on emerging.
Yes.
And many things are there.
Yep.
But being an employee to an organization, even the organization also should provide that environment to care up with that technology. That
Right.
is what my thought. Apart from your self-learning, even the organization should provide assignment environment to care of that.
Right. See, I'll tell you, organizations are selfish, right? I have been on the other side, right? Prior to starting of Last Mile, I was on the other side of the table, right? So we are so selfish that until unless there is a need for it, I will never invest on it, right? So if there is a need, I'll push you. Just good example would be, the Y2K times. I don't know how many of you were there in, a year Y2K 2000, time frame that the problem was there, and everybody were IBM experts, right? There were coaching institutes who were giving IBM certification like Tom, Dick and Harry, right? After this Y2K, the demand was for Java, and I remember myself, we used to run boot camps of all the IBM testers to convert into Java, because the demand was Java. So organization drivers would be from their perspective. Their drivers are very different. There will be an element of aspiration in there. I'm not saying that they are like organizations, they are not looking at aspirations in individual. I'm not saying that, I'm not denying that at all, right? But what I'm talking about is they are driven from more of their business needs. Now, if you think that there is something very interesting which makes sense for me to learn, because my application is handshaking with multiple other, open source things, or probably, tablets and smartphones, or the things that we're talking about here, right? So today the medium allows me to do it very efficiently. Very smart. I'll give another example, right? There is another company in US. I think it's called some Motors, which is basically an organization or a company which manufactures car. Not General Motors, Diesel Motors, right? So what they did was, they got the experts, the mechanics, the engineers, business and everything, they dismantled the car, right? And they did a collaborative stuff among each other in trying to put together a new model in place, right? It took 18 months, but within 18 months they were able to come back with a very different type of an automobile car, right? Which is very different, and maybe it's not, the white paper says that it's not good to look at, but it has got very different features that's been given to it. So what I'm saying is, collaboration is such a big tool that is available for us, and the information is available in our fingertips. The medium is there for us to do it. Another good example I'll tell you is about another organization where they built up the entire organization by the advance of $5,000 that they collected from the individuals. If they could rope in $130 million just for the order of the product by advance from the people, but people ready to invest into it. So zero interest. All because of this collaboration platform. Because they believe in that organization, in getting this product out. So look at this, imagine 130 million without any interest. If they had gone to the bank, minimum 10% interest. They're talking about 0% interest. So this 130 million is an. So what I'm emphasizing upon is a platform that we have today is not the platform that was available maybe 10 years prior or 15 days prior, right? So we have to take that driving seat, right? Push will be there, but push is only on the demand. You have to be part of the pull. That's what I'm saying. I agree, yeah, support has to be there. I'm not denying about it. But what I have seen in my career is always a push. I've seen pull. It's a very minuscule percentage, not the size that we're seeing in big data numbers. 20 billion, 20 million and stuff and so on. Right? Any other question? Anybody who disagrees with what I said? I want to hear that because I want to make it a more debate in stuff to see, what I have thought or what we were looking at. Is it something different that I'm seeing from the industry?
Well, I'm afraid we'll have to take that sometime later on because we're running short of time.
Fair enough, fair enough. Thank you very much for the time. I hope I gave you one thought to instigate and think about learning as we look at the test. Yeah? Thank you very much.